Warning, warning, warning.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Sports Talk49 live on BucsReport.com. I said, I'm your host, Mr. Blake Anthony, and this is my show. And you know how I always start off everything. You know it's 3:30 when you look at your watch. It's time to pick up your phone to tune into Sports Talk. And you know how it is every Tuesday. Everything's going down on a Tuesday. And you know I got to have my special co-host, Mr. Allison Collier. I said we'll get her on in a minute. But as usual, we'll just get to the preliminary process. Make sure to check out all the other great shows here on Bucs Report. Make sure to check out all the other articles. You got Alcat coming up tonight, and I believe he's going to have Bubba the Love Sponge on. And then you're going to have Peter Blake and the Sports Web, Peter Webb, and the Sports Web wrapping up the night, as always, finishing strong, giving you something to check out. But first and foremost, let me get my sister from another mister on here, Mr. Allison Collier.
Mrs. I'm not a mister. I mean, I know we've discussed that before, but
oh Lord, we won't go into that.
no, we won't.
So you scarred poor old Rick Brown for life.
Right? Yes. Sorry, Rick.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about a couple things today, Buccaneer related and sports related. Of course, that's why on Sports Talk 49 we talk all sports. And then Allison's got some great stuff to bring up in Steelers camp as well. We're going to get to that. We're going to try to stay a little more structured today because me and Allison both love to ramble about stuff and get off topic. But it's all in fun, though.
Yeah, it is fun.
It's all in fun. So let's get to we got Allison. We're going to have on here shortly. You're going to have Tanner Hudson from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He got around after practice and spoke with me. We're going to talk about who's been showing out at camp. I'm sure, Allison, you got some stuff, too, about Steelers camp, too, who's been showing out.
I do.
And then I got Bruce Arians talking on the running back situation. Then I got Mr. the law firm, Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, former Patriot Cincinnati running back, talking about the running back situation as well and giving those guys advice. So first and foremost, we can get there. We will start with let's see who's been showing out at camp, and who I got is Mr. Scotty Miller. You got anything on Scotty? What do you think about Scotty, Allison?
Dude, when I saw Scotty last year, I mean, I haven't been covering the Bucs this year, but he looked good, man. I mean, I was pretty happy for him. how he was doing. I don't know how he's doing this year. How's he doing?
He's doing great. I think they found a way to utilize his skill set, much like they did at Bowling Green. At Bowling Green, they used a lot of option like RPO, much like the Eagles did their Super Bowl year. But they're having him go down the seam a lot and utilizing his speed because he's the fastest person on the roster that I know of right now. So using that to use it down the middle of the field and then using the tight ends to come underneath. So it's pretty much a pick or poison the way they're running the offense. And I'll get into more of that later when the season goes down, breaking out the offense is really looking in the 12 personnel set and with Scotty in the slot. Basically, he's going down the seam, and then if you take the guy deep, you just throw it underneath to the tight ends because you got both guys underneath there. And if you take the tight ends, then you've got Scotty over the middle. So you got to pretty much pick your poison there. And Brady's gonna always find the right guy and put the ball in the right spot.
Brady's pretty good at that, or so I hear.
Yeah, so I've heard. Those are the legends. It's not like the Loch Ness Monster. He's the real legend. So check out this camp video I made real quick for Scotty Miller, provided by the Buccaneers.com. Check this out. Yes, I took out the audio of it, but I'm still here. Allison, you're good. I said I took out the audio because I don't want copyright issues. As you know, the Buccaneers play these extravagant video audio on their streams, but Scotty Miller's doing really great here, coming out this offseason. He looks like a man rejuvenated. I mean, crazy how when you get confidence and you believe in somebody, they just shoot off and become more confident and make plays that you didn't see them make over the years. And I think that was a lot that had to do with it last year was communication and trusting in one each other. Because as I said before, from a really good, reliable source that knows Scotty Miller personally, he was really frustrated with Jameis Winston last year. And it showed a lot with the passes that were thrown to him early. I know he scored a nice touchdown against that Lions game. It's probably one of the only times they really connected. But there were a few interceptions where they were off page. The Rams game specifically, and the I can't remember the other game. The Rams game and the Panthers game. That's what it was. That they were offset a little bit there. And we know, the Rams game they won. The Panthers game was kind of a beating out there in London.
Right.
I know you probably remember that game. It was pretty horrendous.
Yeah, I was probably sleeping because those London games.
Yeah, Yeah. I mean, the hours. You were like, a football game's gonna be at what time?
Right, exactly. That's why I could never live in, like a different time zone than I do now, because it's like, I don't know if I'd ever be able to get used to those, early afternoon games, or you know what I mean, like.
Yeah, because people forget that United States, we're the Westerners. Because the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, so everything's a lot earlier when you go over that side. So yeah, I mean, you would get used to it. I believe you would, Allison.
Yeah, I probably.
You're a fighter and you can adapt to just about anything. So I believe you would. I'm sure you would if you got opportunity to live somewhere and a job opportunity. So I know damn well you take that opportunity in a heartbeat. Right. So and we live once.
And that's true. YOLO, as the kids say. I don't know if they still say that or not, but YOLO.
Was that Super Mario? I love that.
It was. That's my text tone.
That's Super Mario. Allison, why don't you tell everybody what you're going to bring up later before I roll into Tanner Hudson and talk about a little of the Bruce Arians and all the other stuff got going on. What you going to bring to us later on with the Steelers?
Yeah. We're going to talk a little bit about the COVID results that Adam Schefter released yesterday. And we're also going to talk about some, injuries at training camp, and Bill Nunn, a former Steelers scout, but he was there for many, many years. It was announced today that he's going to be inducted he's a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So that's really some really big news. So we're going to talk about it league wide, but we're also going to, interweave the Steelers in there as well.
Absolutely.
That's how I roll.
That's how she rolls. All right. Let's get into the Tanner Hudson interview and see what he's got to say. And I'm sure Allison's going to probably have something in response to it as well. Because interviews are always fun. And you got one coming up soon. Don't know if you want to spoil that. We'll talk about that later as well.
Okay. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So let me get the Tanner Hudson's interview. Everybody, check it out. Tanner, how you doing this evening?
Doing good. Just got out of practice.
So I got to ask the one question you got to ask every pass catcher. Did you ever think any time in your life you was going to catch passes from Tom Brady?
Considering I started my career as a kicker / punter, definitely not.
Did you ever think about it? It's up, which is always awesome to go back and get your degree. So 12 personnel, that's going to be the base offense there. It's a real tight end friendly base offense. Have you ever played in anything like that in college anywhere? Are you familiar with that and anything?
The 12 personnel stuff, we did that a little bit at my college. Me and my buddy Reese, me and him did it. Whereas he was more of the blocking tight end, and I was more of the catching. And then we'd switch it up, throw them off a little bit. But we did that a little bit in college.
Who would you say has been giving you a problem in coverage?
Problem in coverage. Obviously Bonte, he's really good with his hands. If he gets his hands on you, it's hard to get off of him and get in the open spot. Jordan Whitehead has improved tremendously just from, I went against him a lot last year just doing the show cards for other teams, and just from last year to this year, I think he's gotten a lot better. So there's a lot of guys that I've shown progression. I think that's just being a new defense and letting it come to you as it goes.
What was your thought when you knew preseason was getting taken away and you knew that was quality reps you were going to take? Basically, your resume. That's what that is.
Yeah, preseason. That's a time where I get to show what I'm about, what I can do, and I really look forward to it, especially getting to go out there with Griff. Being out there in a game with him, that's always fun. But it's just part of it. You gotta take what comes your way, and so now all I have is practice to kind of show what I'm about, and that's what I've been trying to do.
So I'm gonna stop bothering you now with the football stuff. I want to ask you: have you found a decent barbecue spot here in the Tampa Bay area?
Oh, I really haven't got much barbecue down here. I have my Uber Eats places I go to, but as far as, going out and, getting food places, especially obviously this year, we haven't been
with COVID
anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, there's a little barbecue, I can't remember the name of it, but they actually come to our apartment. They have a little food truck, and they do it there. And, I think that's probably the one time that I've actually gotten barbecue down here, and it was pretty good.
You got a roommate, of course. Who you roommates with?
Yeah, I'm roommating with Justin Watson.
Do you guys, sit in the room and try to figure out ways to make each other better, like with this new playbook and things like that? Like, what are the conversations like? Because you guys are kind of like in the same predicament almost. Justin kind of got pushed down on the depth chart with another addition of another wide out, just like you with the addition with the tight end. Like, do you guys ever talk about things like that?
Yeah, you gotta, you talk it out, especially, us being roommates, we can kind of vent to each other, and we kind of know it's just us talking, so it's no big deal. So we can kind of vent to each other about it. But as far as Justin, from what I've seen, he's had an amazing camp so far, and he looks fast, he's catching the ball, and all around he looks really good as one of our receivers right now. Just
get what you always got. Has Tom Brady ever said anything like motivating to you yet that reminisces with you?
Not that has just stuck with me. Anytime he speaks, it's all eyes on him. You got my attention if you're talking. Even I see him talking to Gronk or Cam or something, I'll try to just kind of nudge over there and just try to, listen, because they've been in the league, they know what they're doing. They're obviously
correct.
If it's something that went on during that play or something that's going on, I would like to, just try to learn and listen to as much as I can. All right, well, I appreciate you having me.
No, always, Tanner. We'll stay in touch, brother.
Yeah, we'll do it.
There you have it. Tanner Hudson with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tight end trying to make the roster with multiple tight ends on the roster with the addition of not Tanner, but Rob Gronkowski makes it tough for him. And if you're just tuning in, this is Sports.49 live on BucsReport.com every Tuesday at 3:30 with my co-host, Ms. Allison Killshot Collier. As always, Dan. Kohler. Did I do it? Let's see when I talk fast. You
said Collier. Yeah.
My co-star, my co-host here from Steeler Wires, USA Today Steelers Wire, going to talk about they got lean in. This time of year should be the lean in time, right? That Tom Coughlin always talks about up there at Steelers, and that's right. It's about that time, right?
Yeah, Mike Tomlin, actually, not Coughlin.
Yep.
It's okay. It's all right, man. I understand.
It must be I need the coffee.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I hear you. No, but yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think about Tanner Hudson? When you were at camp last year, he was here. I don't know if you got to see much of him at all. I mean, what do you think about the whole tight end situation? Now, I know there's the one word that you're not going to say they don't have is depth. There's plenty of that.
Right.
What do you?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is they have expanded practice squad this year, and they actually get to protect 4 players a week. So I could definitely see him going there. I mean, like you said, with Gronkowski and Cam Brate, it's going to be hard to, it's going to be hard for that third tight end position. I don't exactly know what their depth is after Brate.
OJ Howard.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, those are three big dudes that, it's going to be really hard for him to make the 53 man, but, they could always stash him on the practice squad, just in case, barring injury, or whatever.
And when I talked to Tanner's really wants to stay here in Tampa. He really does like it here. He's gotten acclimated. Fans and everybody's accepted him. I know it's new. He's from Paris, Tennessee, not France, Paris, but Paris, Tennessee. He's really keyed in here. And when I told him, I expressed what I feel, and I've made it very clear among Bucs Report people. There's 2 people I'm really looking at this year. It's Khalil Davis, defensive lineman coming out of Nebraska. And it was Tanner Hudson. I think he really can play. It's really going to come down to what they want to do with Anthony Allclair. And as I said on Peter's show last night on the Sports Web, when they're in that room discussing players, it's not really that complicated conversation. They're all going to talk to each other. Okay, what is it that we exactly want from our tight end? XYZ. Does he do XYZ? What does he do? Does he does XYZ? And that's really going to come down to the conversation. Like, okay, well, that's what we're going to roll with. And as you just said previously, you get to protect 4 players being with this whole COVID thing. And honestly, if you put Tanner Hudson on the practice squad, somebody's going to pick him up. I guarantee it. I think Tanner believes it as well, because him and his agent know a little bit more than I do about who's been conversating about them and inquiring about him. And I think it's intricate to keep him, because with the tight end situation coming into 2021, you don't want to be forced to have to draft one, because OJ Howard's playing for a contract this year. Depending on how he plays, he's going to be asking for an astronomical amount of money. I'm not sure if Gronk plans on staying one more year with Tom Brady, or he decides to hang it up. We don't know. It's just to keep Tanner Hudson around. You don't have to worry about that. Now you've got a blanket, and then you still got Cam Brate under contract, depending on what you want to do with that. So you kind of want to solidify. You got people in your house without having to go outside and get one. You might as well try to keep them here the best way you can. Right. Does that make sense? What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a lot more affordable, to keep
keyword
you already have on your team than to let them go in free agency and then try and sign somebody from outside your organization. So yeah. And plus, I mean, Gronkowski, he'll get used to the heat. Right now he's crying about but he'll get used to it. And I think, as long as Brady's in the fold, I think Gronk will be there. So
I think so too. I really think the same thing. I think he might hang around for another year, because definitely Brady's all in to play till he's 45, which he said years ago. And Gronk seems like he's very happy playing here. His mom can come to the games. I believe it's 2.5. I think it's a 2.5 hour drive for her, which is a lot shorter than driving all the way up to New England to watch that game. So I think everybody's happy in this situation, and the weather is definitely a lot better. So,
right, no doubt.
And the key part is Gronk's getting into wrestling. What greater place than Tampa Bay, where you got the wrestling school right out here in Tampa? I don't know if a lot of people know that. There's one here in Tampa. where you think The Rock came from when he got out of the CFL. He was here with his dad. It's a lot of history here in Tampa with wrestling, which a lot of local people know that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So with that being said, let's move on. What we got here? There's Bruce Arians on the running back. Glad I always make myself a list, Allison, or I'll be forgetting, man. I can barely pronounce your name.
I would have reminded you. Right, exactly. Every night before you go to bed. Kohler.
See, when I say it fast, I say it wrong. See, I'm gonna try to say it slow. I gotta slow it down. Kohler, slow. So we're gonna go into Bruce Arians talking about the running back position. We talked about it on Peter's show last night. I didn't want to go too in depth with it because I knew I was gonna talk about it the next day, and want to be redundant. And then we're gonna talk about it, and then Allison's gonna throw in her 2 cents, and then we'll go into a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about Steelers, which I love talking about. I always love the Steelers organization because they always find I think the thing I liked the most, always liked about the Steelers, because you knew what to expect from them. They have a systematic format, algorithm, whatever the hell you want to call it, and they try their best to keep us out. And you know what kind of players they're going to draft. And so when they picked up the young kid out of Notre Dame, didn't surprise me at all. I said, that's their kind of guy. They always have that kind of guy on the roster. And the first name that came out was Plaxico Burress.
Right.
They tried that, replaced that with Lima Swede. That didn't work out. And you see how all those guys are kind of built the same. So,
Yep.
So let's get into Bruce Arians, and then we're gonna hear from Ben Jarvis giving him the running back, and then we're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna go to Allison. So here's Bruce Arians on the running back position.
Hey, Coach, just get your assessment of practice today. In particular, it seemed like there was a lot of drop balls, especially by some running backs.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty solid practice. Good start to the week. I didn't think our running backs were particularly sharp today, catching the ball. And it started in warm-ups, and we addressed it after practice, and everybody's got to be ready to go. But that's the only group. Everybody else looks like they're ready to roll.
Is Dare still, one of those guys that is one of the more reliable guys catching the ball out of the backfield on?
He has been. Yeah, he has been so far.
Okay, next.
Hey, Coach, my apologies if you already answered this. I tried to get on here as quickly as I could. Just your thoughts on the running back performance today. It looked like that at times there were some issues catching some passes like in the spring game.
Yeah, that was a question already. But, yeah, they dropped too many balls today. Simple, and they can catch them, so it's unacceptable.
And there he is. As you said, it's unacceptable, dropping passes and everything. And you got to execute every game. If you want to be a champion, you've got to execute every day in practice as if it's the game time. If you're just tuning in, this is Sports Talk 49, live on Bucs Report every Tuesday at 3:30. Until the season comes, it'll be every Monday and Friday, and all that information will be out there so you guys won't miss it. And as always, you have Peter Blake in the sports web every day, Monday through Friday. Well, not every day, Monday through Friday, but you got all these shows here. And I'm always here with my co-host, Mr. Allison Killshot Collier from Kohler, Steelers Wire. USA Today Steelers Wire. I know she's probably laughing at me.
I am.
And as always, it was brought to you by mycannabiscard.com, and the official sports bar of Bucs Report is the deck at the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla. So make sure to check us out there week 1 when the Bucs travel on the road to New Orleans, and hopefully everything's going to be fine in New Orleans with the hurricanes coming around. Everybody's worried here in Florida about that. I'm going to be keeping my eye on that. Hopefully nothing crazy out there happens, because it was really sad what happened last time in Katrina, and everybody knows about that. I'm not going to give everybody a history lesson, but I hope everybody turns out all right there. I don't want to see stuff like that happen to anybody. Let me bring Allison back up here. So we got Bruce Arians talking about the running back position. They had a setback. He already had a setback with TJ Logan with another injury. Unfortunately, sidelined him again. And Arians seemed really high on him because he has speed and catching ability, which a guy he likes. And then we're going to get into Ben Jarvis. Anything you want to bring up on Arians? I don't know if you saw his press conference on it. He was just talking about the running backs had a bad day, dropping the ball, not executing. But if you want to get out the way, the practice is the time to do it. But
That's
again,
true.
But again, right now will be preseason games being played, which is kind of missing. And as Tanner said before, and you saw his reaction when I brought it up. I said, not having preseason games You don't really get to showcase your skills and have a resume. So I know when fans and everybody goes, oh, I don't want to watch that. It's preseason. Preseason games mean a lot more to these guys than it does you. You may not think that way. I'm not saying you. I'm talking about it's a broad. They just people may not think that on a wide scale, but it does, man. It's like these guys are undrafted, and he said he changed positions from a place kicker to tight end. And
Right.
I brought up to him before about somebody that changed positions before that was very successful at tight end was Dallas Clark. Dallas Clark was a linebacker at Wisconsin and wasn't very good. Was going to be cut actually from Wisconsin, and decided to change positions to tight end. And from there, he lettered and became All-American tight end, and from the rest with Peyton Manning and Indianapolis Colts. So it's possible. A lot of these guys change position or play multiple positions through high school, especially in high school. You always play multiple positions and then go into college. That's intricate. You get to see a kicker who's playing tight end.
Right. Yeah. I was surprised to hear that. I was like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I made sure to make sure he says that he's a kicker and he's playing tight end. So everybody can't say kickers are soft. Pat McAfee, there you go. See, all kickers aren't soft. See, you better represent. So
yeah.
So let me get into Ben Jarvis talking about some advice for the running backs, and I'm sure you'll jump in too. We're talking about running backs as Pittsburgh. We talked about that a little bit 2 weeks ago about the Steelers running back situation. So I kind of what he says is going to apply to all running backs all over. So let's get into that real quick.
What would be your best advice for Ronald Jones and the young running back crew coming into a Tom Brady-led offense?
Oh man, make sure your pass protection is down. Number one, make sure your pass protection is down, and you know we got boys. Let's pick up is concerned. Pass protection, let's pick up and get down the route. And Tom is very, he's one of those guys. But if you're supposed to be 40 yards and you're 6 yards, you're not really gonna like that. Because now you don't know who you're gonna be. And it's all called like seeing things the same for the eyes, like I spoke on before. If Tom and the running back and the line is all seeing things the same for the line, we can operate a whole lot faster. And football is a game of inches, but it also means a game of seconds. So if we don't have time, we can be out of spot. We only have so many seconds to throw the football. So if you run 6 and I just go to you at 4, well, that's a whole extra second. Now I've got that. I made the line look bad, and everybody looks bad. So just making sure everybody's doing their job. Not to sound cliche.
Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, everybody. This is Sports Talk 49 live on BucsReport.com with Miss
The law firm.
The law firm, of course.
Firm.
It was the name was given to him from Berman, wasn't it? The law firm. I can't remember who actually did.
Somebody, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm here with Killshot Collier. So we're at the 30-minute mark, and I've gotten through everything. So we got a lot of other stuff to cover too. But I also want to give a shout out to Joshua Cole Allen was at camp today. Make sure to check on that at this Sports Web tonight after the Al Keck show, Big Al on. And Josh is going to break down all the stuff they talked about, what he was allowed to see, for the much parts with COVID-19, the social distancing, stuff like that. So that's interesting too, being at camp. Because from being at camp, you'd be like, you're basically there with those guys at previous camp. Now you're extended out tier 1 and tier 2, tier 3 media and stuff like that. I'm sure you heard about all that stuff too, Allison. But the virtual stuff is pretty cool. So a lot of people are open to that, and I think a lot of people are getting pretty acclimated with that, especially a lot of older coaches and stuff working on social media. So we're gonna take a quick break. Let Allison and I get us a quick drink because Allison knows I look like I eat powdered donuts when I talk too much, and I have been running a mile a minute. And I've been talking too much, so that's why I'm giving this next segment to Allison, so she can break down some Steelers stuff and then answer some questions from you guys, because I have been neglecting you. I've been neglecting you. Don't call the people on me. I've been neglecting the fans watching us. So let's go to this quick commercial break provided by the Deck Bar and Grill at Isla and mycannabiscard.com. So check that out real quick, guys, and we'll be right back. And we're back. But
Just like that.
Just like that, we're back. I also hope you're quenched your thirst and you're ready to rock and roll. Because give us what you got. Take it away, Allison.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so earlier today in the show, we mentioned that we were going to talk a little bit about COVID, which is always a very popular topic. Adam Schefter yesterday tweeted the test results. I don't know if you have the graphic or not. But,
I got it.
Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. I can be like,
Yeah.
so much fun. Yeah, so he tweeted out the test results last night. Obviously, as you can tell, the main highlight here is 0 positive tests among players, which, again, it was just for the period of August 12th to August 20th. But still, it's showing that that the NFL is making great progress with the protocol and all the safety measures, that they've been taking, which is including, wearing a tracking device. And the tracking device is really cool. I mean, it literally tells you, it'll notify you when you've gotten in close contact with someone, who that individual is, if you're standing by them too close, or if you're standing with them for too long of a period of time, it literally notifies you, hey, step off, and it just goes to show how social distancing, washing your hands, just being cognitive of all those little things that, we took advantage of before the virus, you know what I mean? Like maybe we didn't wash our hands as much as we do now. I know I certainly didn't. But anyway, it's those little things that are really making a big difference, because when training camp first started, I want to say there was like close to 100 people who, again, it's the reserve COVID list is not just for people who have COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's people who are showing symptoms, and for players who have come in contact with people who have shown symptoms or do have COVID. So the good thing is right now, at least as of yesterday, there were only 4 people, and this is prior to Adam's tweet about 0 positive tests between August 12th and August 20th. There are 4 people only that remain on the reserve COVID list. So that's a really good sign. I just think the main thing that we have to be concerned about is that the NFL is kind of anti-bubble. They're kind of anti, what the NHL and I believe the NBA are doing a bubble too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't follow those sports as closely, but
NBA was. I think we were the first to start the NBA bubble, the trouble in the bubble. I'm sure you heard.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The NFL said that. I mean, they've said so far they're not planning to do a bubble, and that's my concern. Obviously, the players are very vocal; they want to play, and I would think that if they do want to play, they'll be smart after they break from camp. Between camp and the start of the season, they're just going to have to be. If there's not going to be a bubble, they have to be really smart about socializing. You know what I mean? And about doing all those things that they were doing in camp. I mean, hopefully that repetitive nature that they've experienced over the past 4 weeks of camp, maybe that'll be something that's sort of ingrained in them, to where they can follow all those proper protocols when they're on their own, when they don't have teammates around or coaches around, because everybody wants to see a season, and that's really the only way it's going to happen.
So you're saying is we can't be like Isaiah Wilson for the Tennessee Titans first round draft pick to go party at college parties. So you're saying we can't do that?
No, they can't do that.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure it was clear. Well, what about if I want to have a young lady over, and as long as I dress her in my gear or somebody else around her size's gear, sad, somebody else in her size's gear, and pass her off as a player, that's not okay either?
Yeah, no, apparently not.
Okay.
You would think it would be, but it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So football has to be the priority with the season coming up within, 18 days now?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the 10th. So, yeah, it's like 16 days. Yeah, the 10th is kicks off Thursday, September 10th. The Steelers kick off on a Monday night on the 14th. So, yeah, right around the corner, man.
Even less. So,
yeah, exactly.
I think, and you're right. You touched, Adam and yourself touched on a lot of things I think a lot of people didn't realize. For one, at one point, I kept track to see how much I touched my face, which you didn't realize. A lot of people don't do it and don't even realize it.
Right.
how much I need more to, wash my hands, especially, when they bring up flu season and things like that, even beforehand, and take extra protocols, because everybody shouldn't rely on hand sanitizer every day. You've got to get more on the repetition practice of really washing your hands with soap and stuff like that. But this has definitely been an eye-opening thing. And let me not make it all doom and gloom. The NFL has been surprisingly really great with the COVID stuff. You said a lot of people haven't gone out, besides the beginning part where it looked like all was going to fail with the New England players all opting out, which everybody was like, whoa, what the hell is going on? And so there's all the stars going to be gone, especially one of the premier teams with the premier owners, New England. All these guys dropped out, so you thought a lot of other people would follow suit, but it threw me off because Jerry Jones said he's having fans, so it was kind of, I guess those guys are in disagreement with the way they want to do things. So that's
actually a great segue, because the next thing I was going to talk about was fans in the stands. And it in the beginning, when this first came out, Roger Goodell had said that he wanted all of these COVID related things to be, across the board, so that there was no unfairness. But now it seems that Goodell is leaving it up to the state and local governments whether the teams are going to be able to have fans or not, have fans, what capacity they're going to have fans. But, like you mentioned, Jerry Jones has said he's going to have fans. He really doesn't care. But it's unfortunate because, coaches like Sean McDermott from the Bills and Mike Zimmer from the Vikings have come out and said, this is ridiculous. Because it is an unfair advantage. I mean, I know life isn't fair, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, in a competitive environment like that, fans, I mean, they motivate players. You know what I mean? You're constantly seeing players going, asking people to, get louder or quiet down when their team is on offense. And it just does seem like there's definitely going to be an unfair advantage there for, players that go into Dallas or, players that go into Miami. I mean, there are a few other teams that have said that they're going to have fans to a certain extent. The Steelers are one of the teams that haven't said anything yet.
Yeah, they have been quiet. The Rooney's are one of the other marquee owners I was talking about. Like, what I was trying to say earlier, which I should elaborate, is like there's a couple teams that I really pay attention to what they do. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of owners that are more vocal and have more push in the league than others. Rooney's being one of them, Jerry Jones being one of them, Robert Kraft being one of them. When you see all of those things in agreement, usually the league is going to make some type of movement with it. But it's like just like you said, you really don't know what the hell is going on. You got one opting out everybody. You got one. He says he's going balls to the wall playing everybody, and then you got one that's not saying anything. So you don't know what's going on, and Goodell's in quite a conundrum, I would have to say, because again, what can he do? They run their own organizations. They control whether the fans coming out, not Goodell. That's really them. So they would. I mean, that's the right decision in my part for what he said. With the little things that Roger Goodell has done right. Said leaving it up to them in the state and let them go by whatever the state protocol or whatever they want to do there.
Yeah, going back to New England and the players that opted out, I was sort of like, I mean, again, it's just conspiracy theory, but I was like, all these players are opting out because the Patriots are going to suck this year, and they just don't want to be part of it.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because Tomlin says he doesn't care. He was asked yesterday in a press conference his thoughts on all this controversy with Zimmer and McDermott coming out and being like, this is ridiculous. We got to have across the board, protocols in terms of fans in the stands. And Tomlin's like, I don't care. And I think Vic Fangio, I think he's in Chicago, he came out and says, I don't give a damn. You know what I mean? So that, it's varying opinions from varying, organizations on whether they care, whether there's fans, and there are some teams that are coming out and saying, hey, like the Giants, for example, Monday night in New York at MetLife, they're not having fans for the. Some teams are playing it week by week, month to month, and obviously I think that's the way to go. But it's like, because it's too soon to tell. But I don't think that this virus is going anywhere well, I mean, the season is long, but it's short at the same time, if that makes any sense. So it's like, I just don't see this virus, magically disappearing before the end of the football season. And all of a sudden, all teams are going to be able to have full capacity at stadiums. So.
Correct. I agree with that 100%. It's not going away anytime soon. I think some teams have already packed it in for September, which being a highly sought after team, and the New Orleans Saints have already said the month of September they're not going to have fans. I believe, or was it the first game? Well, if they haven't, there's other teams that said they're not going to have fans in the month of September, which is just like you said, it's not going anywhere. And at most, you don't want to put your fans at risk. And then the most key part, you don't want to put, I guess, officials and everybody else who come into contact with players at risk. So that's really the issue, them getting access to the players, then you having that spike. Now you're worried about depth in those protected reserve players, which you mentioned earlier, and you don't have to go into that pool. So, I mean, we'll see. It's really all wait to see.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely don't blame the organizations that want to have fans in the stands, because the revenue there is amazing. And all that revenue from that does come in or doesn't come in this year because fans are there or not there, is going to affect the salary cap next year. And nobody wants to see. I mean, they've already talked about it. Before the virus, when they signed the new CBA, the salary cap was estimated to be $210,000 for 2021, and now they're saying, the low floor is going to be $175 million. So it's like, it's still a lot of money, you know what I mean, to you and me and to everybody watching. But, that's a drastic difference, in the salary cap if the revenues, don't come through this year. So.
Absolutely. And especially with a team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who've had fan attendance issues and merchandise selling issues, to have two marquee guys coming in. And then you're telling me that I can't have fans?
Yeah, I would not have wanted to be. Well, I would have wanted to been a fly on the wall, when this whole thing went down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I'm sure a lot of choice words were said that would have been.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
But luckily, they will have Tom Brady next season, and hopefully, you can make your profit margins up and recover from those losses, which the Glazers, I'm sure, will do. They've owned one of the, I'm not sure if they still are, but at one point owned the most wealthiest team in the world, Manchester United, for some time. I'm not sure if that's still there, but they did. So I'm sure they will find a way to overcome this, because obviously they've been pretty good with their money.
Right.
So, yeah. What else you got for me?
Yeah. So the Pro Football Hall of Fame had some breaking news today, saying that Bill Nunn is a finalist for the 2021 Hall of Fame, which is really awesome news for Steelers fans, and really should be for all football fans, because the Bill Nunn, I mean, he was part of the Steelers organization for quite some time, and he really made. I mean, he was there for a long time. And so he was he had a part in drafting, Mel Blount, L.C. Greenwood, Ernie Holmes, Donnie Shell, John Stallworth, Dwight White. I mean, he was there for the Steelers dynasty, of the 1970s. And he was a huge part, because he started off working at an African-American newspaper called the Pittsburgh Courier. And what he did there was he reported on football programs at historically black colleges. So he really had Bill Nunn his finger on the pulse of black players from these historically black colleges. So he knew exactly, who the Steelers needed and the players that were going to be able to contribute to the Steelers, because I mean, he had a say in all these draft selections in the 1970s that eventually led them to, Super Bowls. So there have been a lot of reporters over the past several years who have been pushing for him to be enshrined as a contributor to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And so today it came out that he's going to be, and that's just really awesome news.
I mean, it is awesome news, and I like that the media way media is and stuff. Now you can get these little guys names out there that have flown under the radar for so long and have helped the movement for Black head coaches, Black players, and Black journalists. Anybody like to make that move, so we're not still talking about social injustice like today. Like I like when those stories are brought up, because I know him and his family would like to see that. You would like to see respect shown for somebody who's done some dirty work for quite some time and under the radar stuff, and now you're getting recognition for it. And then you see young people or people that were around that era, you get to see like, oh damn, he had a part of all that. Didn't know that. This guy I never heard of. And of course you don't, because it's not all flash and everything, to do stuff like that. But it's awesome anytime to see that. And as I said before, the Steelers have such great history, and I've always respected that franchise for the things that you just named right there.
Right. Yeah. Next year, I mean, the Hall of Fame ceremony is going to be pretty lit, because, they're going to have to, they obviously weren't able to have the ceremony this year. So they're going to fit both into next year, whether they're going to do it, if they're going to do it all at once, the 20 class and the 21 class, or if they're going to do them like, from within a week of each other. I can't see why they wouldn't combine the two.
Might as well.
Troy Polamalu, Bill Cowher, Donnie Shell, you know what I mean? There's 3 Steelers right there that are going to be inducted from the 2020 class. And we still know, I don't know if, Alan Faneca was another guy that they were talking about in there. So, I mean, there literally could be like 4 or 5 Pittsburgh Steelers, inducted next year. And that's pretty freaking sweet. If tickets weren't so expensive, I'd be going. That's for sure.
You can probably get around there. You may not be able to go. You can at least get around there, at least, and say you were at the event, but maybe not at the show, but you were at the event. It's definitely going to be blacked out Steelers. For that one, there's a lot, and there's a lot of players that I like watching. And you just naming Troy Polamalu is going to bring heads among all the other people. So that's awesome.
Yep, no doubt.
Let's get to some of the questions since we neglected you guys. I'm sorry. I said Allison had some great stuff. Oh, before we get to that, I just saw something on ESPN pop up. The Lions canceled practice. They said this is more important than football. What do you think about that? Like the organization canceling practice over a man named Blake, the black man that was killed by police?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I was like, things that make you go, you know what I mean? Like, I understand that the NFL, they don't want to forget, what I mean? They don't want to forget all these racial injustices that have been happening. And so I think, and the Packers even released a statement last night, and the Lions are canceling practice today. It just made me laugh a little bit, because the Lions are horrible, and they're one of the teams that could use all the practice they get. You know what I mean? So it's, I understand where they're coming from. It's really, a great stance to cancel practice and use your platform, to talk about these racial and social injustices. But again, the Lions, oh man, you know what I mean? Like,
yep. And especially with a new head coach and you're trying to change your franchise around over there. I mean, I get, it's like you said, you're it's awesome that you're showing your support, but I mean, you guys could have still did both. You guys could have still went to practice and still shown your support.
There's 24 hours in a day. I don't know.
I get and respect what you were trying to say, like, oh, the hell with it. I'm not practicing because we want to show with it. Not saying that was their intention. I'm just saying you guys, they could have done both. You could have done both. You could have still went to practice and still shown the support.
It's called multitasking.
Yep, absolutely. I guess that was their way of just canceling practice, which you canceling practice has no precedent on that man getting shot by police for whatever that reason was. And we'll get it. Well, I guess me and you both will find out more about that later on when we check out the article. But you canceling practice has nothing to do with that. But so let's as I was saying earlier, let's get to some of the guys here. Since we've been neglected, I've been seeing squealers and Steelers stuff up here. Eugene Thomas putting up the squealers. Okay, Rob, you guys are you cray today? We are always cray. That's why we try to keep stuff organized, because her and I both are a little wild ones there. Ray Kennedy's cracking up. There's a lot to crack up about Ray. Scotty will be a solid sleeper in fantasy this season. It's possible. I think he's going to get a bulk of the big play coming down the seam with that speed, and if he could get open, he's not going to catch him in a foot race.
Don't take him like before the 10th round, though. Don't be doing that.
I agree. Heard people say Earl Thomas rumors to be a Buck. I think we talked about that on Peter's show last night. Allison, I'm sure you're very familiar with Earl Thomas.
Yeah.
I'm sure there'll be rumors everywhere. I think he said himself he wants to play for a winner. But again, just like I said last night, you were on a team that's predicted to do well, and you couldn't stay there because you couldn't close your mouth or keep your hands to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what other teams are you planning on going to? Tampa Bay is kind of cash strapped, so I don't know what kind of money or what moves they're going to make to bring you there. What do you think? Where do you think he goes, Allison? What do you think?
Well, I mean, right away when I saw it, I was like, Dallas. I mean, he's totally going to Dallas. But Dallas, Jerry Jones has come out and said that, while they had interest in him, apparently they're not going to pursue him. I don't know if that's just a smokescreen or what, but it's like, man, like you're making all this money, and it's like you just can't not be a jerk. Like, well, I just don't understand. I just don't understand that. I mean, maybe because I don't make millions of dollars and I can't relate, but it's like, wow, like what? Why do you got to go and do that? It's just crazy.
And I'll tell you firsthand, I've been around a lot of guys in this area, working at the club scene for many years in my younger days around here. I was around a lot of wealthy people, and you can see how I use the word wealthy, not rich, wealthy, and they don't act like jerks. They don't act like douchebags. They don't act like that. They act very, very kind people, and they treat people the same way they want to be treated. And I'm sure they could be nasty if they wanted to, but they don't have a reason to. So I don't know why people maybe feel sometimes that feel like you're a marquee player. You've made that much money over the league, and you just turn into this ornery person. You might have always been like that, because then again, Pete Carroll let these guys be vocal, because you had all those egos in Seattle for many years. Everybody knows Richard Sherman doesn't hold his tongue, and I'm sure there's been a lot of conversations between them, but he can't bring that to every team, because every team doesn't operate like that. Especially the Ravens going on a youth movement, which they've made awesome moves with the acquisitions, the corners, just getting Calais Campbell, and then Patrick Queen. They just constantly picking up players. I know you don't want to hear that because that's in the Steelers division, but they always find ways to have defense to be like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're really talented on both sides of the ball. They're going to be scary. I mean, they've been scary, you know what I mean, since Flacco left, pretty much. But they're just going to keep getting scarier.
And you bring up a good point that I didn't mention. I just now thought about it. What you just that last sentence you just said was the key part of this. The reason he said once they let Flacco go, their defense got better. So which brought me up to back to when I started this rent a QB thing. I wanted to say. I said on social media, on Twitter at Blake Anthony 49. The Patrick Mahomes contract will start a rent a QB era, and what I mean by that is that you can do one or the other. If you want to pay $500,000 to a quarterback, or if that's going to be the asking price, but sacrifice the rest of your team, and because of that, I mean, you're going to have to make that choice or not, because you'll have a great quarterback, and then you won't have the rest of your team, or you're going to have to be really good at drafting young players and keeping them for those 4 to 5 years without paying them, and then move on to find more while you keep paying your quarterback. So what you said, you got rid of Flacco, but you were able to acquire all of these assets on offense and defensive line. So it just reminded me of that when you said that. You don't have that big money quarterback on the roster, and you're allowed to bolster everywhere else because of it.
Right. Yeah. It should be interesting. I can't remember if Lamar Jackson he wasn't taken in the first round, so he's not gonna have
Lamar won first round.
Right. So yeah, I mean he's going, I think, his third year now. So they're gonna have some, if Lamar keeps playing as well as he has been, they're gonna have to pay the man.
Yeah.
So what you bring up is gonna be interesting. Are they gonna be able to keep this powerhouse defense, around once Lamar, commands all that moolah? I don't know if they're going to be able to do that or not. So
when it's time to cash in, we'll have to see. But on the flip side, I know you didn't want to hear about the Ravens or want to talk about them, especially if you support the Steelers. You don't want to talk about them Ravens. Well, the Steelers are going to be on the opposite end of that when you get rid of Big Ben. Suddenly, the Steelers' defense is not going to be so bad. They're not going to have a lot of holes in it. They're going to have a lot of new faces. TJ Watt is going to get his extensions all coming in that direction. Because when Ben comes off of that and that $100 million or whatever contract he's got out there, all that money frees up. I said they'll start picking up all these guys that they needed all these years. That running back situation will be addressed.
Right.
I don't think they're gonna. We talked about that, I believe, a couple of weeks ago. But I don't think they're overpaying for Juju. Juju can walk. They're going to be on the flip side of that too. So it's going to be interesting, that division. Right.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I mean, like we said last week, that the Steelers are in the red right now, so they're going to be really cash. They're already really cash strapped without signing Juju. And he's playing on the final year of his rookie contract, and they got to pay Cam Hayward, and like you said, TJ Watt. He's going to be a free agent in 2022. They're going to want to take care of him next year. Because the Steelers are one of those organizations that they take care of the contract the year before it expires, so they don't have to deal, they don't have to deal with that, during the season. And they don't discuss contracts at all during the regular season. Once the regular season starts, no. So, we have very few days right now to, the Steelers have very limited time to take care of Cam Hayward before the season starts, or they're going to be looking, at the, January, February before they start paying these guys. So.
And Cam Hayward has been essential to that team for a long time. Very good leader. Everything you thought he was, from the excitement he had on draft day. I still remember that when they picked him. He was just so excited to come to that franchise, and he is that Steeler guy. Right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Right behind Aaron Donald is Cam Hayward. You really can't. I mean, obviously Aaron Donald is in a class of his own, but right after you say his name is pretty much Cam Hayward, so they got to pay the guy, no doubt.
Yeah, all depends. If you want to, all depends what's going to happen with Ben and happen with a lot of these other guys, because, like you said, they're in the red. So do you want to keep Big Ben happy, or do you want to keep the team happy? What's more important here? You gonna sacrifice the team for a guy aging and basically playing for his own ego at this point, because Big Ben is he's not the Big Ben of old. He's Big Ben of new now. So
exactly.
So they're going to have some tough decisions there, and Steelers have been one that's been lacking on finding your heir to the quarterback position, and a lot of that played on Big Ben's refusal to help, refusal to be supportive. So some interesting situations coming out of Steelers if they want to maintain their upper echelon, and Mike Tomlin keeping his job. A lot of that's going to come down to some key decisions, and I'm sure you've covered that in your talks and articles. There's some big decisions coming up.
Yeah, no doubt. They got a lot of them. I don't want to be Kevin Colbert, that's for sure.
Oh no, it's tough.
Yeah, but they're really good, and that's the thing. We look at the situation now, and it's like, ooh, it's so scary, but somehow they end up making it work. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some cap casualties. You know what I mean? Juju's a fan favorite, and I just don't see him being able to stick around next year because of the situation that they're in money wise. So
that, and he just, like we said, we don't know if it was bad quarterback player. Just Juju's not that guy. You're gonna find out this year, because Ben's back if he can stay healthy. I believe definitely if Ben goes down injured, they might be done with him. If he goes down again, I think that that question will be figured out itself. They'll be ready to move on and possibly trade. They'll possibly might trade for it. Who knows? Knowing the Steelers, they're not going to pack in the season and become in the dumpster in that division, which they haven't been for a very long time. And I don't think they plan on doing it. Rooney's won't accept that. Nor will Mike Tomlin. So
nor will I.
Oh, most importantly, nor will you, as I know you ain't going for it. Eric Valentin asked, how many running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers do you think will be on the roster? I think he's talking about the Buccaneers. I think they're going to keep all their running backs that they have right now. Tight ends is going to be tough. Like I said, I think it's going to come down to Anthony Auclair and Tanner Hudson, and seeing what they're going to do with that, who they're going to keep. And as Alan said, they have protected players, so they could possibly move him to practice squad, talking about Hudson, and then have him as protected under that week to week, or however they want to do with that. It's interesting. But I think they're going to keep all the wideouts, all the guys that were drafted and were here previously. I don't think any of them are going anywhere. Your thoughts?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's where I think the protected practice. I mean, because there's going to be a lot of drafted players that that they're not going to be able to be ready. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be able to make an immediate impact given the abbreviated off season. So I think we are going to see some teams that will take. I mean, don't get me wrong. Chase Claypool isn't going to be on the practice squad, but I mean, they drafted a beast of a guard, and in Kevin Dotson. He may just end up having to go, to the practice squad. So I think we're going to see a lot of teams doing that with some of their rookie players this year.
Kevin Dotson, that's the kid out of Louisiana Lafayette, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, he's a mover.
Yep.
No, you're right. You got him.
I was right. Okay, yeah, Louisiana, and I think he was like a bulldozer type of guy, the Steelers guy, getting back to that running the ball type thing, gritty kind of guy, puts people in the dirt, ain't afraid to get money. That's just, like I said, I always say the Steelers always find their guys. Let me take a look at some of these regular season and playoffs. There's Ray Kennedy, Deshaun Tidsdale. What's going on, brother? As always, Dylan Casey, how you doing? How do babies get made? Interesting name. Has a heart on there.
I have an idea.
I think it was a stork or something like that.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
What else you got, Allison? Anything else out of Steelers Wire, or you got anything else out there in the sports world you want to discuss?
We were going to talk a little bit about injuries. The Steelers have a whole smattering of them. Minor, soft tissue injuries. Deontay Johnson, I think it's a calf. He was wearing a wrap on his lower leg. Dotson has been out for almost a week now with a knee injury. So all these injuries, Mike Tomlin's sort of playing them off as minor. That they may end up being minor injuries. James Washington, their wide receiver, was injured. He's back now, practicing fully. So hopefully, like you had said, with practice, with them dropping balls and things, it's better that they get injured now if they have to get injured at all. You know what I mean? Get that out of the way. You know what I mean? So that we don't have to deal with it during the regular season. But the Browns, their rookie safety, Grant Delpit, name.
6 DBs, I believe Peter said that they've lost, and they just picked up former Bucs second-round draft pick MJ Stewart and went down with a knee injury his first day at practice.
Yeah, that was like yesterday or something, wasn't it? Something like that. Yeah, man, it's like, yikes, And we talked about on a past show, we talked about how not having OTAs and for the rookies, not having rookie mini camps, how it's going to affect injuries. And there's no doubt it's going to affect it. We've already seen it. So it's going to be interesting, what happens with injuries once the season gets started.
Yeah, especially if your name is Cleveland. That's it. Who's covering back there? Holy moly. And that was one of the teams people were talking about Earl Thomas going to, but I don't know if Earl Thomas will actually consider them a contender, because Lord knows I wouldn't. Now with Baker Mayfield at quarterback, but
they have the money. Cleveland, I don't know the numbers right now, but they have a shit ton. Can we say shit ton?
Yeah, go for it.
I did. I said it like twice.
Yeah.
They have a shit ton of money. You know what I mean? They're one of the few teams that have an abundance of free money right now. Not free cash flow going on. You know what I mean? So it's like, but they've had that the past few seasons, and they still haven't been able to do anything. So I don't know.
That's why I said before, what are you really trying to accomplish here? Are you really trying to pick up guys to put butts in seats, or are you really trying to get guys that's coming here to win? Because the Buccaneers will definitely tell you that a lot of guys will come somewhere if you're going to pay them the most, and Florida has tax breaks. Yep. So which helps. Not sure what that looks like in Cleveland, but if you throw people enough money, they will go there and put up with whatever it is that they going on Cleveland. So especially like you just said, you got cash flow and money to throw around. Players will come. Right.
Yeah. But the thing about cash flow, it's like players who have a lot of, teams that have, a lot of money in terms of salary, you look at it as a good thing, but you also have to wonder, like, the teams that have a lot of money usually aren't that good. You know what I mean? The teams that are strapped, like the Steelers and the Bucs, they have a lot of talent, and so it kind of goes to show that, if you have a lot of money, it's because you're not paying the right players, and you're usually not good.
That you got a good point. Never thought about it like that angle.
Yeah.
That means you're not drafting well.
Right. Exactly.
It means you're not drafting well because you're not paying your own guys. Just like we mentioned, T.J. Watt's probably going to be a guy that's going to demand some money coming out of Pittsburgh, and same thing with Cam Hayward, who's justifiably deserves his money and should be extended. But you guys picked up Stephon Truitt too, which is I saw him as a Steeler guy too, which it didn't surprise me when you guys drafted him. Now he's got a couple years on his contract, but that's an interesting. I never thought about it like that. Good teams don't have money. Try to figure out exactly. Good teams don't have money. Bad teams have money. I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
I would have to agree. No, I was just dawning. I was just like,
right?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. And it means you haven't drafted well because you're technically. I know. Go ahead and brush your shoulders off. Yeah, you're right. It's just an interesting one. Never really thought about it in that aspect.
Right. Yeah. No doubt.
I think we got through everything today, didn't we?
I think we did.
We actually did it. I know. Applaud to us.
Yes.
Applaud to us. We stayed on schedule. We didn't get off topic. We did good today with our ADD. Right. We did all right.
Yeah.
Well, Allison, as always, come out here and promote yourself, where they can find you, what you got coming up. If you want to mention in your next interview, I like that one. It's one of the guys I loved watching. So
yeah. So a week from today, I'm interviewing Jerome Bettis. He's doing some kind of fantasy football event. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing a 10-minute interview with Ryan Shazier. Obviously, he's no longer a Steeler due to
sad, man,
circumstances. But he's always going to be a Steeler in our hearts. So it's going to be a great interview. I'm really looking forward to it.
Definitely. Ryan Shazier.
At SteelersWire.com. If you go to SteelersWire.com, I'm all over there. That's pretty much what I do.
Yeah, you can find her at SteelersWire.com. You can find her at her social media. You can find her here. My guest co-host is always running every Tuesday so far. She's got free time during the day like me. I let Peter take the night. I'm in the daytime guy. I know.
Yeah, Peter's got the night. He's got that covered.
Yeah, Peter's got that covered. Not even touching that market. He's got it, man. I'm staying out of there. I'm the guy with too much salary cap. I stay out of the way. Love having you, Allison, as always. I'll see you next week.
Thanks for having me on, man. See you guys.
Yep. Fun as always, man. Great personality, great person. Loved her when she was here. I'm Blake Anthony. This is Sports Talk 49 live, always on BucsReport.com, giving you what you need and talk about. Let's see if we can get us another interview next week. Talk about more what's going on, camp, more in depth. See what they can tell. See if I can get Justin. See if I can get Justin on here too with Tanner. Those two personalities ought to be hilarious. I try to be like a more casual conversation, then they're all serious asking about books. So I want these guys to feel comfortable and come on here and talk about whatever they want to talk about, and have fun because, it is a job, but you still want to have fun. And we'll end this as we always do. You're the master of everything. What you do with your life, what you do with is entirely up to you. Make sure you guys check out mycannabiscard.com. Make sure to check out The Deck Bar and Grill at Isla, the official sports bar of BucsReport.com. And as always, make sure to check out Al Keck and Peter Blake in the Sports Web, along with Joshua Cole Allen that was at camp today. So, with all ado, we're going to get out of here. Thank you, guys. God bless. And always fire those